Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Today is the fourth day of our book narration. This is the second book. Name is Choose Your WoW, a disciplined agile delivery handbook for optimizing your way of working by Scott W. Ambler and Mark Lyons. We started this book for today is the fourth day, and we had a narration for last 3 days. We were hardly able to complete first chapter, and we were about to end the second chapter. So today we intend completing the second chapter, and we'll move on with the second chapter. But naturally, this is a very lengthy book, and a lot of material is there. So we studied in this 8 principles and 7 promises that we did yesterday. Today there are 8 guidelines which we are going to start now. So we follow these guidelines to fulfill the promises that disciplined agile make. They all choose to follow a collection of guidelines that make them more effective in the way that they work. The guidelines of the disciplined agile mindset are: number 1, validate our learnings; 2, apply design thinking; 3, attend to relationships through the value stream; 4, create effective environment that foster joy; 5, change culture by improving the system; 6, create semi-autonomous self-organizing teams; 7, adopt measures to improve outcomes; and 8, leverage and enhance organizational assets. Now, taking them one by one, first guideline was validate our learnings. The only way to become awesome is to experiment with and then adopt, where appropriate, a new WoW. In the GCI workflow, after we experiment with a new way of working, we assess how well it worked, an approach called validated learning. Hopefully, we discover that the new WoW works for us in our context, but we may also discover that it doesn't. Either way, we have validated that we have learned best being willing and able to experiment in critical to our process improvement efforts. Remember Mark Twain's aphorism, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Validated learning isn't just for process improvement. We should also apply this strategy to the product oblique service offering that we are providing to our customers. We can build in thin slices, make changes available to our stakeholders, and then assess how well that change works in practice. We can do this through demoing our offering to our stakeholders, or better yet, releasing our changes to actual end users, measuring whether they benefited from these changes. Second guideline is apply design thinking. Delighting customers require us to recognize that our work is to create operational value streams for our customers that are designed with them in mind. This requires design thinking on our part. Design thinking means to be empathetic to the customer, to first try to understand their environment and needs before developing a solution. Design thinking represents a fundamental shift from building systems from our perspective to creatively solving customer problems, and better yet, fulfilling needs they didn't even know they had. Design thinking is an exploratory approach that should be used to iteratively explore a problem space, identify potential solutions for it. Design thinking has its root in user-centered design as well as usage-centered design, both of which influenced agile modeling, one of many methods that the DA Toolkit adopts practices from. In Chapter 6, we will learn that DA includes the exploratory lifecycle which is specifically used for exploring a new problem space. Third guideline, attend to relationships through the value stream. One of the greatest strengths of the Agile Manifesto is its first value, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Another strength is the focus on teams in the principles behind the manifesto. However, the unfortunate side effect of this takes the focus away from the interactions between people on different teams or even in different organizations. Our experience, and we believe this is what the authors of the manifesto meant, is that the interactions between the people doing the work are what is key, regardless of whether or not they are part of the team. So, if a product manager needs to work closely with our organization's data analytics team to gain a better understanding what is going on in the marketplace, and our strategy team to help put those observations into context, then we want to ensure that these interactions are effective. We need to proactively collaborate between these teams to support the overall work at hand. Caring for and maintaining healthy interactive processes is important for the people involved and should be supported and enabled by our organizational leadership. In fact, there is a leadership strategy called middle up down management, NONAKA, where management looks up the value stream to identify what is needed, enables the team to fulfill that need, and works with the teams downstream to coordinate work effectively. This overall goal is to coordinate locally in a manner that supports optimizing the overall workflow. Next guideline is create effective environments that foster joy. To paraphrase the Agile Manifesto, awesome teams are built around motivated individuals who are given the environment and support required to fulfill their objectives. Part of being awesome is having fun and being joyful. We want working in our company to be a great experience so we can attract and keep the people, the best people. Doing right work is play. We can make our work more joyful by creating an environment that allows us to work together well. Our key strategy to achieve this is to allow teams to be self-organizing, to let them choose and evolve their own WoW organizational structure and working environment. Teams must do so in an enterprise-aware manner, meaning we need to collaborate with other teams, and there are organizational procedures and standards we must follow and constraint on what we can do. The job of leadership is to provide a good environment for teams to start in and then to support and enable teams to improve as they learn over time. Next guideline is change culture of improving the system. Peter Drucker is famous for saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is something that the Agile community has taken to heart, and this philosophy is clearly reflected in the people-oriented nature of the Agile Manifesto. While culture is important and culture change is a critical component of any organization's agile transformation, the unfortunate reality is that we can't change it directly. This is because culture is a reflection of the management system in place. So to change our culture, we need to evolve our overall system. For a system point of view, system is both the sum of its components plus how they interact with each other, midos. In the case of an organization, the components are the teams of big groups within it and the tool and other assets, but digital and physical, but they work with. The interactions are the collaborations of the people involved, which are driven by the roles and responsibilities that they take on and their wow. To improve a system, we need to evolve both its components and the interactions between these components in lockstep. To improve the components of our organizational system, we need to evolve our team structure and the tools oblique assets that we use to do our work. The next disciplined agile mindset guideline create semi-autonomous semi-organizing teams addressing the team side of this. In chapter 18, we describe options for improving the quality of our infrastructure, which tends to be a long-term endeavor requiring significant investment. To improve the interactions between components, which is the focus of this book, we need to evolve the roles and responsibilities of the people working on our teams and enable them to evolve their wow. To summarize, if we improve the system, then culture change will follow. To ensure that culture change is positive, we need to take a validated learning approach to these improvements. Next is create semi-autonomous self-organizing teams. Organizations are complex adaptive systems made up of a network of teams and are, if you will, a team of teams. Although mainstream Agile implores us to create whole teams that have all of the skills and resources required to achieve the outcomes that they are being tasked with, the reality is that no team is an island unto itself. Autonomous teams would be ideal, but there are always dependencies on other teams upstream that we are part of, as well as downstream from us. And of course, there are dependencies between offerings, products, or services that necessitate the teams responsible for them to collaborate. This network of teams organizational structure is being recommended by Stephen Denning in his Law of the Network. Denning. McKeston, in his recommendation to shift from project to product teams, John Cotter in Accelerate, Stanley McChrystal in his Team of Teams strategy, and many others. Teams will proactively collaborate with other teams on a regular basis, one of the promises of the DA mindset. Awesome teams are, as a whole, possible. They are cross-functional, have the skills, resources, and authority required to be successful. And team members themselves tend to be cross-functional, generalizing specialists. Furthermore, they are organized around the products oblique services offered by the value stream they are part of. Interestingly, when we have teams dedicated to business stakeholders, budgeting becomes much simpler because we just need to budget for the people aligned with each product oblique service. Creating semi-autonomous teams is great start, but self-organization within the context of the value stream is also something to attend to. Teams will be self-organizing, but they must do so without the context of the overall workflow that they are put part of. Remember the principles: optimize flow and enterprise awareness. In that, teams must strive to do what's right for the overall organization, not just what is convenient for them. When other teams also work in such a way, we are all much better for it. Next guideline is adopt measures to improve outcomes. When it comes to measurement, context counts. What are we hoping to improve? Quality, time to market, staff morale, customer satisfaction, combination thereof. Every person, team, and organization has their own improvement priorities and their own ways of working. So they will have their own set of measures that they gather to provide insight into how they are doing it. And more importantly, how to proceed. And these measures evolve over time as the situation and priorities evolve. The implication is that our measurement strategy must be flexible and fit for purpose, and it will vary across teams. The Governed Delivery Team Process Goal, Chapter 27, provides several strategies including goal question, metric GQM, and objectives and key results OKRs that promote context-driven metrics. Metrics should be used by a team to provide insights into how they work and provide visibility to senior leadership to govern the team effectively. When done right, metrics will lead to better decisions, which in turn will lead to better outcomes. When done wrong, our measurement strategy will increase the bureaucracy faced by the team, will be a drag on their productivity, and will provide inaccurate information to whomsoever is trying to govern the team. Here are several heuristics described in Chapter 27 to consider when deciding on the approach to measuring our team. Start with outcomes. Measure what is directly related to delivering value. There is no one way to measure. Teams need fit for purpose metrics. Every metric has strengths and weaknesses. Use metrics to motivate, not to compare. We get what we measure. Teams use metrics to self-organize, measure outcomes at the team level. Each team needs a unique set of metrics. Measure to improve, we need to measure our pain so we can see you are again. Have common metric categories across teams, not common metrics. Trust but verify. Don't manage on the metrics. Automatic wherever possible so as to make the metrics ungameable. Prefer trends over scalers. Prefer leading over trailing metrics. Prefer pull over push. Next guideline, leverage and enhance organizational assets. Our organization has many assets, information systems, information sources, tools, templates, procedures, learning, and other things that our team could adopt to improve our effectiveness. We may not only choose to adopt these assets, we may also find that we can improve them to make them better for us as well as other teams who also choose to work with these assets. This guideline is important for several reasons. Number one, a lot of work has occurred before us. There is a wide range of assets within our organization that our team can leverage. Sometimes we will discover that we need to first evolve the existing assets so that it meets our needs, which often proves faster and less expensive than building it from scratch. A lot of good work continues around us. Our organization is a network of semi-autonomous, self-organizing teams. We can work with and learn from these teams proactively, collaborating with them, thereby accelerating value realization. The enterprise architecture team can help point us in the right direction, and we can help them learn how well their strategies work when applied in practice. Stephen Denning stresses the need for the business operations side of our organization, such as vendor management, finance, and people management. To support the teams executing the value stream of our organization, we must work and learn together in an enterprise aware manner if we are to delight our customers. Third point, we can reduce overall technical debt. The unfortunate reality is that many organizations struggle under significant technical debt loads, as we discussed earlier. By choosing to reuse existing assets and investing in paying down some of the technical debt that we run into when doing so will slow dig our way out of the scheduled debt trap and that we find ourselves in. Next, four, we can provide greater value quicker. Increased reuse enables us to focus on implementing new functionality to delight our customers instead of just reinventing what we have already offering them. By paying down technical debt, we increase the underlying quality of the infrastructure upon which we are building, enabling us to deliver new functionality faster over time. We can support others, just like our team collaborates with and learn from other teams, so do those other teams collaborate and learn from us. At the organizational level, we can enhance this through the creation of center of excellence and communities of practice to capture and share learnings across the organization. COEs and COPs are two of many strategies described in chapter 24. Join the rebellions. Agile itself is a rebellion against traditional strategies, which for the most part were based on theory, most of which has been shown to be false. But like all rebellions, the agile thinking of the 1990s has become stale. Practically, predictably, a new generation of rebel rousers have come along with their ideas and in some cases movement. Woody Zully and Neil Killick started what we call the hashtag rebellions with their hashtag no estimates movement. Since then, hashtag no projects, along with other movements described in Table 2.1, have appeared. We believe there are some very interesting and practical strategies coming out of these movements. many of which are captured in DA. Are there hashtag rebellions good or bad? We think both. Our premise is that it depends upon hashtag context counts. We also feel that it's unfortunate that these hashtags are negative in the sense that they are against something rather than for something. But we also recognize that they have been very effective in drawing attention to significant problems in the software process space. Most importantly, they represent a key agile philosophy to question the same cue to always ask if that's really the way it needs to be. Here you can see table 2.1, common hashtag rebellions and their visions, no estimate, hashtag no estimates. Estimates are a source of waste because they don't add real value for stakeholders. They are rarely accurate and begin with, and when we deploy regularly, people stop asking for them anyway. See the process goals, plan the release in chapter 11 and accelerate value delivery in chapter 19 for options. Hashtag no frameworks. This is pushback against the agile scaling frameworks that experienced agilists find too restrictive and ineffective. More accurately, this should be no prescriptive frameworks. That's just too long to tweet. While DA is arguably a framework, being of good options to consider experimenting with, it is very organization to succeed with. Instead, called DA is Toolkit. Projects. This is on the observation that it is better to show constant value stakeholders rather than blobs of value may not be worthwhile. It's important to note that this move away from the pyramid in the agile community move from management, but instead current risk and overhead projects. Hashtag no templates. Following a template blindly is wrong, as the applicability may be wrong, but selecting templates that suit context can both accelerate delivery and improve quality. See the process goal, accelerate value delivery in chapter 19. And then we have and a few philosophies. Here are a few philosophies that we have seen work well in practice for disciplined agilists. Number one, if it's hard, do it more often. You believe system integration testing is hard? Instead of pushing it to the end of the life cycle like traditionals do, find a way to do it every single iteration. Then find a way to do it every single day. Doing hard things more often forces us to find ways, often through automation, to make them easy. If it's easy, do it more often. We are afraid to evolve a certain piece of code. We are afraid to get feedback from stakeholders because they may change their minds. Then let's do it more often and find ways of to overcome what we fear. Find ways to avoid the negative outcomes are to turn stakeholders understand the implications of the decisions they are making. Keep asking why. To truly understand something, we need to ask why it happened, why it works that way, why it's important to others. Then ask why again and again and again. Toyota calls this practice five whys analysis. Like her, but don't treat five as a magic figure. We keep asking why not, why until we get in the root cause. Number four, learn something every day. Disciplined agilists strive to learn something every day. Perhaps it's something but about the campaign, about the domain they are working in. Perhaps it's something about the school, about technologies, or something that about their tools. Perhaps it's a new practice or a new way to perform a practice. There are a lot of learning opportunities before us. Take them. In summary, how can we summarize the disciplined agile mindset? Simon Powers sums up the mindset in terms of three core beliefs. Powers. The beliefs are the complexity belief, the people belief, and the proactive belief. The complexity belief, many of the problems that we face are complex adaptive problems, meaning by trying to solve these problems, we change the nature of the problem itself. The people belief, individuals are both independent from and dependent on their teams and organizations. Human beings are interdependent. Given the right environment, safety, respect, diversity, and inclusion, and a motivating purpose, it is possible for trust and self-organization to arise. But this to happen. For this to happen, it is necessary to treat everyone with unconditional positive regard. The positive belief proactively is found in the relentless pursuit of improvement. We find these beliefs compelling. In many ways, they summarize the fundamental motivation behind why we need to choose our vow, because we face a unique context. We need to tailor our vows, and in doing so, we change that situation that we face that also requires us to learn and evolve our vow. The people belief motivates to find a vow, but that enables us to work together effectively and safely, and the proactive beliefs reflect the idea that we should continuously learn and improve. Mindset is only the beginning. The disciplined agile mindset provides a social foundation from which our organization can become agile. But it is true, it is only a foundation. Our fear is that too many inexperienced coaches are dumbing down agile, hoping to focus on the concepts oversight at this chapter. It's a good start, but it doesn't get the job done. In practice, it isn't sufficient to be agile and also need to know how to do agile. It's wonderful when someone wants to work on a collaborative, respectful manner, but if they don't actually know how to do the work, they are not going to get much done. Software development, and more importantly, solution delivery is complex. We need to know what we are doing. In this cartoon, the leftmost person is saying the software is potentially shippable. Oh yeah. And the girl is saying, is he documentation up to date? What about hardware changed, business record changes? So if there was any change that has to be inducted into the plan. Let's have a break about 5 minutes and I'll be back. Right, I'm back. We are now starting the third chapter, which is disciplined agile delivery in a nutshell. Starts with a quotation. Discipline is doing what you know needs to be done, even if you don't want to do it. It is by an unknown. Many organizations start their agile journey by adopting Scrum because it describes a good strategy for leading agile software teams. However, Scrum is a very small part of what is required to deliver sophisticated solutions to our stakeholders. Invariably, teams need to look to other methods to fill in the process gaps that Scrum purposefully ignores. And Scrum is very clear about this. When looking at other methods, there is considerable overlap and conflicting terminology that can be confusing to practitioners as well as outside stakeholders. Worse yet, people don't people don't always know where to look for advice or even know what issues they need to consider. To address disciplined agile delivery provides a approach to agile solution delivery is a DAD is a people first learning oriented hybrid agile approach to IT solutions delivery. These are the critical aspect of the DAD. People first, hybrid, full delivery life cycle, support for multiple life cycles, complete, context sensitive, consumable solutions over working software, and self organizing with appropriate governance. Before we can move on to that, let's look at some key points in this chapter. DAD is the delivery portion of the discipline Agile toolkit. It is not just another methodology. If you are using Scrum, XP, or Kanban, you are already using variations of the subset of DAD. DAD provides 6 life cycles to choose from. It doesn't prescribe a single way of working. Choice is good. DAD addresses key enterprise concerns. DAD does the process heavy lifting so that you don't have to. DAD shows how agile development works from beginning to end. DAD provides a flexible foundation from which to tactically scale mainstream methods. It is easy to get started with DAD. You can start with your existing WoW and then apply DAD to improve it gradually. You don't need to make a risky big bang change. Back to the critical aspects of DAD. People first was the first point. People and the way we work together are the primary detriment of success for a solution delivery team that supports a robust set of rules, rights, and responsibilities that you can tailor to meet the needs of our situation. Hybrid DAD is a hybrid toolkit that gets great ideas from Scrum, SAFe, Spotify, Agile modeling, extreme programming, unified process, Kanban, lean software development, and several other methods into context. Number 3 is full delivery lifecycle. DAD addresses the full delivery lifecycle from team initiation all the way to delivering a solution to your end user. Number 4, support for multiple life cycles. DAD supports agile, lean, continuous delivery, exploration, and large team versions of the life cycle. DAD doesn't prescribe a single life cycle because it recognizes that one process approach does not fit all. Chapter 6 explores life cycle in great detail, providing advice for selecting the right one to start with and then how to evolve from one to another over time. Fifth point is complete DAD. Shows how development, modeling, architecture, management, requirements of outcomes, documentation, governance, and other strategic fit together in streamlined whole. DAD does the proof heavy lifting and other methods have leave up to us. Number 6, context sensitive. DAD promotes that we call a goal-driven and outcome-driven approach. In doing so, DAD provides contextual advice regarding viable alternatives and their trade-offs, enabling you to tailor DAD to effectively address the situation in which you find yourself by describing what works, what does not work, and more importantly, why. That helps you to increase your chance of adopting strategies that will work to you and do so in a streamlined manner. Remember the DA principles, context counts. Seventh point here is consumable solutions over working software. Potentially shippable software is a good start, but what we really need are consumable solutions that delight our customers. 8 point, self-organization with appropriate governance. Agile and lean teams are self-organized, which means that the people who do the work are the ones who plan and estimate it. But that doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. They must still work in an enterprise aware manner that reflects the priorities of their organization. And to do that, they will need to be governed appropriately by senior leadership. The governed delivery team process goal of chapter 27 describes options for doing exactly that. The chapter provides a brief overview of DAD with the details coming in later chapters. What's new with DAD? For existing DAD practitioners, there are several exciting changes that you will see in this book compared to Disciplined Agile Delivery, Ambler Lines at 2012. We have made these changes based on our work at dozens of organizations worldwide, and more importantly, from the input we have received from a myriad of practitioners. These changes are: number one, process goals have been refactored. Over the past 6 years, we have renamed several goals, introduced a new goal, and combined 2 years of goals. We believe will come, it will make the goals more understandable. Second, every goal has been updated. We have learned a lot over the last 6 years. A lot of great techniques have appeared, and we have applied older techniques in new situations. We have been posting updates to goals online at disciplinedagiledelivery.com and in our courseware, but this is the first time we have captured all of the updates in print. Third, all of the goals are captured visually. That is the first book to capture all of DAD's goal diagram. We introduced a goal diagram after 2012 book came out, although we have published some of them in our book. Okay. So there is a short book, Introduction to Disciplined Agile Delivery, second edition, and there is an executive guide to Disciplined Agile by Ambler Lines, 2017. Fourth point, new and updated life cycles. We have explicitly introduced the program life cycle. We had described it in terms of team structure before and the exploratory life cycle. Also introduced both agile versions of what we use continuous delivery life cycle. 5. Advice for applying the toolkit in practice. A difference you will see in this book is much more advice for how to apply DA in practice. The advice reflects an additional 6 years of working with organizations around the world to adopt disciplined agile strategies. Next is people first, roles, rights, and responsibilities. Figure 3.1, you can partially see it on the next page coming, shows the potential roles that people will fill on DAD teams, and chapter 4 describes them in detail. The roles are organized into two categories: primary roles that we find are critical to the success of an agile team, and supporting roles that appear as needed. So you can see we have got some primary roles on top, and then we have got some support role. In primary role, we have got a stakeholder, we have got a team lead, a product owner, architecture owner, team member, and these are the 4 team roles. And in addition to that, we have got the stakeholder as a primary role, and in supporting roles, we have got a specialist, independent tester, domain expert, technical expert, and integrator. The primary roles are team lead. The person leads the team, helping the team to be successful. This is similar to the Scrum Master role in Scrum. as per the Scrum guide. Product owner. A product owner is responsible for working with stakeholders to identify the work to be done, prioritize that work, help the team to understand the stakeholders' needs, and help the team interact effectively with stakeholders. Architecture owner. An architecture owner guides the team through architecture and design decisions, working with the team lead and product owner when doing so. Team member. Team members work together to produce a solution. Ideally, team members are generalized specialists are working on becoming so, who are often referred to as cross-skilled people. The generalizing specialist is someone with one or more specialties such as testing, analysis, programming, and a broad knowledge of all solution delivery and the domain they are working in GenSpec. Stakeholder. Stakeholder is someone who will be affected by the work of the team, including but not limited to the end user, support engineers, operations staff, financial people, auditors, enterprise architects, and senior leadership. Some agile methods call this role customer. So the customer is named as stakeholder here. Coming over to the supporting roles, we have got a specialist. Although most team members will be generalizing specialists or at least striving to be so, we sometimes have specialists on team when called for. User experience and security experts are specialists who may be on a team when there is significant user interface development or security concerns respectively. Sometimes business analysts are needing to support product owners in dealing with a complex domain or geographically distributed stakeholders. Furthermore, roles from other parts of the DA toolkit, such as enterprise architect, portfolio managers, reuse engineer, operations engineer, and other are considered specialists from a DAD point of view. So these are all the specialists. Then we have got an independent tester. Although the majority of testing, if not all of it, should be performed by the team, there can be a need for an independent test team at scale. Common scenarios requiring independent tester include regulatory compliance that requires that some teams occur outside of the teams and a large program, a team of teams working on a complex solution that has significant integration challenges. Domain expert. A domain expert, sometimes called as subject matter expert, is someone with deep knowledge in a given domain or domains before. They often work with the teams of product owner to share their knowledge and experience. Technical expert. This is someone with deep technical expertise who works with the team for a short period to help them oversee a specific technical challenge. For example, an operational database administrator (DBA) may work with a team to help them set up, configure, and learn the fundamentals of database. Everyone on Agile team has rights and responsibilities. Feel free. For example, everyone has right to be given respect, but they also have to okay, they also have the responsibility to give respect to others. Furthermore, each role on an agile team has specific additional responsibility that they must fulfill. Rights and responsibilities are also covered in chapter in detail in chapter 4. A hybrid of great ideas. That is our next study. We like to say that DAD does the heavy process lifting so that you don't have to. What we mean by that is it that is we have mined the various methods, frameworks, and other sources to identify potential practices and strategies that your team may want to experiment with and adopt. We put these techniques into context, exploring fundamental concepts such as what are the advantages and disadvantages of the technique, when would you apply the technique, when wouldn't you apply the technique, and to what extent would you apply it. Answers to these questions are critical when a team is choosing its WoW. Figure 3.2, as shown below, indicates some of the methodologies and frameworks that we have mined for techniques. For example, XP is a source of technical practices such as test-driven development, refactoring, and pair programming, to name a few. Scrum is a source of strategies such as product backlog, sprint iteration planning, daily coordination meeting, and more. Agile modeling gives us model storming, initial architectural envisioning, continuous documentation, and active stakeholder participation. Where these methods go into detail about these individual techniques, the focus of DAD and DA in general is to put them into use and to show you choose the right strategy at the right time. So here is figure 2.2 DAD, and you can see here there are a lot many things interacting, and this is the whole environment of disciplined agile. We have DevOps, extreme programming, Scrum, Safe, PMBOK, Spotify, Kanban, agile modeling, agile data, untitled processes, traditional, and more. So there can be any number of agile methods which could be adopted within TAD. Choice is good. Process goals. DAD includes a collection of 21 process goals or process outcomes, if you like. As figure 3.3 shows, each goal is described as a collection of decision points, issues that your team needs to determine whether they need to address, and if so, how they will do so. Potential practices, strategies for addressing a decision point, which can be combined in many cases, are presented as lists, goal diagrams, an example in which figure 3.4 are similar conceptually to mind map, albeit with the extension of the arrow to represent the relative effectiveness and options. In some cases, goal diagrams are in effect guides to help a team to choose the best strategies that they are capable of doing right now, given their skills, culture, and situation. Chapter 5 explores DAD's goal-driven approach, and Section 2.5 describes each goal in detail. Here we have got another figure, 3.3, process goals of DAD. So this is kind of tilted. Let me see if I can do something about it. Let me check. Okay, you can see I have put it in the right direction. So what do we see? We see three stages. First is inception, second is construction, and third is transition. Inception is get the team going in the right direction. Construction is incrementally build a consumable solution. Transition says release the solution into production. So what do we have in inception? We have the form team, align with enterprise direction, explore scope, identify architecture strategy, plan the release, develop test strategy, develop common vision, and secure funding. This is inception. And after that, when we go into ongoing, then we will grow teams and evolve way of working. Anyways, coming back to construction. In construction, we have prove architecture early, address changing stakeholder needs, produce a potentially consumable solution, improve quality, and accelerate value delivery. And when it is ongoing, then we are coordinating the activities and leveraging and enhance existing infrastructure. During transition, we have ensure production readiness and in ongoing, we have addressed risk and govern delivery team. So these are how many processes? 21 processes. Exactly as it was said, these are 21 processes. Right. So here we have yet another diagram, figure 3.44, which says the improved quality process goal diagram. Improved quality includes improved implementation through refactor code, refactor database, refactor user interface, refactor test assets, accept technical debt and rewrite. Improved deliverable documentation through uh, from bottom to up, multi-purpose document, single-purpose document, executable specifications, single source information. Improve deliverable format from bottom to up, apply comprehensive template, refactor away from template, write free-form documents, apply concise template. So this is choice is good, multiple life cycle support. Life cycles put an order to the activities that a team performs to build a solution. In effect, they organize the techniques. Okay. They organize the techniques that we apply to get the work done because solution delivery teams find themselves in a range of different situations. They need to be able to choose a life cycle that best fits the context that they face. You can see the figure 3.5 that DAD supports 6 life cycle. Agile, this is the Scrum based life cycle for solution delivery project. Lean, this is the Kanban based life cycle for solution delivery project. Continuous delivery, that is Agile, this is Scrum based life cycle for long standing teams. And continuous delivery Lean, this is the Kanban life cycle based life cycle for long standing teams. Exploratory, this is a lean startup based life cycle for running experiments with potential customers to discover what they actually want. The life cycle supports the design thinking approach as described in chapter 2. Sixth is program. This is a life cycle for a team of agile or lean teams. Chapter 6 describes the 6 DAD life cycles in detail as well as the traditional life cycle and provides advice for when to choose each one. So here you have the DAD supports 6 life cycles: Agile, Continuous Delivery Agile, Exploratory, Lean, Continuous Delivery Lean, and Program. These are the DAD adopted 6 life cycles. And next topic here is consumable solutions over working software. The Agile Manifesto suggests that we measure progress based upon working software. But what if the customer doesn't want to use it? What if they don't like using it? From a design thinking point of view, it is clear that working isn't sufficient. Instead, we need to deliver something that is consumable. So, number one, it works. What we produce must be functional and provide the outcomes that our stakeholders expect. It is usable. Our solution should work well and with a well-designed user experience UX. And it's desirable. People should want to work with our solution and better yet, feel a need to work with it and where appropriate to pay us for it. As the First principle of disciplined agile recommends our solution should delight our customers, not just satisfy them. Additionally, what we produce isn't just software, but instead is a full-fledged solution that may include improvements to software. Software is an important part, but just a part of our overall solution. Hardware. Our solution run on hardware, and sometimes we need to evolve or improve that hardware. Business processes. We often improve business processes around the usage of the system that we produce. Organizational structure. Sometimes the organizational structure of the end user of our systems evolve to reflect changes in the functional supported by, by, by it. Supporting documentation, deliver documentation such as technical overviews and user manuals help is often a key aspect of our solutions. Next setting is DAD terminology. Table 3.1 shown below maps common DAD terms to the equivalent terms in other approaches. There are several important observations that would like to make about the terminology. Number one, there is no standard agile terminology. There isn't an ISO industry standard for agile, and even if there was, it is very likely would be ignored by agile practitioners. Number two, Scrum terminology is questionable at best. When Scrum was first developed in the 1990s, its creators purposefully decided to choose unusual terminology. Some adopted from the game of rugby to indicate to people that it was different. That's perfectly fine, but given the DA is a hybrid, we cannot limit it to apply arbitrary terms. Three, terms are important. We believe term should be clear. You need to explain what a Scrum meeting is and that it isn't a status meeting. Whereas it's pretty clear what a coordination meeting is. Nobody sprints through a marathon. 4, choose whatever team terms you like. Having said all this, DAD doesn't prescribe terminology. So if you want to use terms like sprint, Scrum meeting, and Scrum master, then go ahead. Some mappings are tenacious. And an important thing to point out is that the terms don't map perfectly. For example, we know that there are differences between team leads, Scrum masters, and project managers, but terminology mapping some of the terminology in the agile community. DAD, what they call architecture owner, there is no difference in Scrum or Spotify, but in XP we call him coach. In SAFe we call him architect. In TED we call him solution architect. In DAD, what we call coordination meeting. In Scrum it is called daily stand-up. In Spotify it is called a huddle. XP has no term for it. In SAFe we call it daily stand-up, and in traditional approach it is called status meeting. Domain expert, what DAD called domain expert, has no equivalence in Scrum, is called customer in Spotify and XP, is called a product owner in SAFe, and in traditional approach is called subject matter expert. What we call iteration and DAD is a sprint in Scrum and Spotify, is still called iteration XP and SAFe, and in traditional we call it time box. Product owner is mostly common in DAD, Scrum, Spotify, and SAFe, whereas XP calls it customer representative and traditional calls it change control board. Then talking about the stakeholder, in DAD and traditional terms, we call this role as stakeholder, whereas in Spotify, XP, and SAFe, it is called customer, and Scrum has no equivalence. Team is pretty much called a team in DAD, Scrum, XP, safe, and traditional, but in Spotify it is called a squad or a tribe. In DAD, we have a team lead, which in Scrum is called a Scrum Master, in Spotify is called an Agile Coach, and XP it is called a Coach, Safe it is called a Scrum Master, and in traditional it is called a Project Manager. So there are a lot of confusions in variations in these terms. So maybe whichever model you are using, whichever methodology you are using, you could keep using those terms, or you can even change the terms to suit yourself. But TAD recommends these terms. Then context counts. DAD provides the foundation for scaling agile tactically. Disciplined agile distinguishes between two types of agility at scale: tactical agility at scale and strategic agility at scale. Tactical agility at scale is the application of agile and lean strategies on individual DAD teams. The goal is to apply agile deeply to address all of the complexities, what we call scaling factors, appropriately. Strategic agility at scale, that is, this is the application of agile and lean strategies broadly across your entire organization. This includes all divisions and teams within your organization, not just your software development teams. Let's examine what it means to tactically scale agile solution delivery. When many people hear scaling, they often think about large teams that may be geographically distributed in some way. This clearly happens, and people are clearly succeeding at applying agile in these sorts of situations. But there's often more to scaling than this. Organizations are also applying agile in compliance situations, either regulatory compliance that is imposed upon them, such as Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, that is HIPAA, Personal Information Protection and Electronic Document Act, that is PIPEDA, or General Data Protection Regulation GDPR, are self-selected compliance such as Capability Maturity Model Integration CMMI. International Organization for Standardization ISO and IT Information Library, that is ITIL, they are also applying Agile to a range of domain and technical complexities even when multiple organizations are involved, as in outsourcing. Figure 3.6 below summarizes the potential tactical scaling factors that you need to consider when tailoring your Agile strategy. These scaling factors are a subset of the factors described in the software development context framework SDCF in chapter 2. The further out on each scale you are, the greater risk that you face. And here you can see figure 3.6, tactical scaling factors. We have got three directions. One is team size. From bottom, it is compliance, and on top, it is team size. So as far as the team size is concerned, we have got 10, 25, 100, and 250. In compliance, we have got none, process, financial, or life critical. In geographic distribution, we have co-located, same building, same time zone, or global. And in technical complexity, we have new standalone solution, new integrated solution, legacy solution, and multi-platform legacy. Then in organizational distribution, we have outsourcing, contracts, single company and single division, and in domain complexity, straightforward, complex, very complex, and chaotic. So these are the various axes on which this has been prepared. DAD provides a solid foundation for tactically scaling Agile in several ways. DAD promotes a risk value life cycle where teams attack the riskier work early to help eliminate some or all of the risk, thereby increasing the chances of success. Some people like to refer to this as an aspect of failing fast, although we like to put it in terms of learning fast or better yet, succeeding early. DAD promotes self-organization enhanced with effective governance based on the observation that agile teams work within the scope and constraints of a larger organizational ecosystem. As a result, DAD recommends that you adopt an effective governance strategy that guides and enables agile teams. DAD promotes the delivery of consumable solutions over just the construction of working software. DAD promotes enterprise awareness over team awareness. This is a fundamental principle of DA as discussed in chapter 2. What we mean by this is that the team should do what's right for the organization, work to a common vision, leverage existing legacy systems and data sources, and follow common guidelines, and not just do what's convenient or fun for them. DAD is context sensitive and goal driven, not prescriptive. Another DA principle is that choice is good. One process approach does not fit all, and DAD teams have the autonomy to choose and evolve their WoW. It's easy to get started with that. We'd like to share several strategies that we have seen applied to get people, teams, and organizations started with that. Number one, read this book. A good way for an individual to get started is to read this book, particularly section 1, section 2 to 5 are reference material, and that you will use to choose your WoW. Take training. Even after reading the book, you are likely to benefit from training as it will help to round out your knowledge. At some point, we hope that you choose to get certified as in disciplined agile. Number 3, start with a prescribed method framework, then work your way out of method prison. Teams might choose to start with an existing method such as Scrum or SAFe and then apply the strategies described in this book to evolve their WoW from there. 4, start with DAD. We believe that it's easier to start with DAD to begin with and thereby avoid running into limitations of prescriptive methods. 5, work with an experienced agile coach. We highly suggest you bring in a certified disciplined agile coach to help guide you through applying the DA tools toolkit. Organizational adoption of disciplined agile will take time, potentially years, when you decide to support agile vows across all aspects of your organization. Agile transformations such as this, which evolve into continuous improvement efforts at the organizational level, are the topics of chapter 7 and 8 in our books, An Executive Guide to Disciplined Agile. In summary, disciplined agile delivery provides a pragmatic approach for addressing the unique situation in which solution delivery teams find themselves. DAD explicitly addresses the issues faced by enterprise agile teams that many agile methodologies prefer to gloss over. This includes how to successfully initiate agile teams in a streamlined manner, how architecture fits into the agile life cycle, how to address documentation effectively, how to address quality issues in an enterprise environment, and how agile analysis techniques are applied to address the myriad of stakeholder concerns. How to govern agile and lean teams, and many more critical issues. We'll explore strategies to do this in section 2 to 5 of this book. In this chapter, we learned that DAD is a delivery portion of disciplined agile. We read that if you are using Scrum, XP, or Kanban, you are already using variations of subset of DAD. You can start with your existing WoW and then apply DAD to improve it gradually. You don't need to make a risky big bang change. DAD provides 6 life cycles to choose from. It doesn't prescribe a single approach, providing you with solid choices on which to base your WoW. DAD addresses key enterprise concerns and show how to do so in a context-sensitive manner. DAD does the heavy process lifting so that you don't have to. DAD shows how agile development works from beginning to end. DAD provides a flexible foundation from which to tactically scale mainstream methods. It is easy to get started with DAD, and there are multiple paths to do so. This brings us to the end of chapter 3. So I think we should close here. From tomorrow, we will start chapter 4, that is roles, rights, and responsibilities. So thank you very much for your cooperation and for your patience in listening to all this. I may have been spelling things wrongly sometimes. Sometimes my speed may vary. Sometimes it is total trash. You don't understand nothing at all. But that's how we are going to go over this whole book. This is a big mission to complete this book, 1 hour every day. I took a little more time today. So see you tomorrow. Thank you very much and take care.